Rocky Edwards. How could you not be happy for that guy? How could you not be happy for a guy that everyone shat on, who no one wanted to give an opportunity to, laughed in his face, called him Leon Scott, laughed at the notion of him fighting for the number one contender fight? Do you remember the battles that I used to have with DC and Chael and everyone on Twitter about this guy? And now you see all of them flying over there, begging to put their, stamp. And now we're going to give Colby Covington, who has, all due respect, one of the best welterweights in the world, lost his 2 title fights, coming off 1 win over a year ago. And I hear, he flew over and made weight, so he deserves it. Well, all right. It doesn't always work out like that. So are you telling me that if Anthony Smith made weight back in January, he was getting a title shot? He wasn't getting a title shot. He was not. The backup fighter isn't always the guy. All right? It doesn't always work out that way. You're trying to tell me back in the day when Pettis fought Holloway, Moicano, when he had to make weight, was he going to get a title shot? No, he wasn't. All right? Enough with this. Enough of the squatting. I've been talking about the welterweights squatting on their spot for years. You know who wasn't squatting on their spot? You know who was the one guy who took every single fight and ate every shit sandwich that was served up to him? That fucking guy. That's the guy that was crapped on. That's the guy that got removed from the rankings when it wasn't even his fault. He's trying to fight Khamzat Chimaev. When Khamzat was the boogeyman, no one wanted to fight him at 170 and 180, 85. He's fighting him. He signs up to fight him 3 times. 3 freaking times. Signed up to fight Masvidal. Masvidal had to withdraw from the fight. Signed up to fight everyone. Now he's getting his moment. I don't care if you're the biggest Colby fan, Usman fan, Gilbert fan, freaking Izzy fan, Francis fan, Volk fan, Islam fan. How could you not be happy? Because all of us feel like we've been crapped on. All of us feel like we've been dealt the bad hand. For a guy who, there's something so beautiful and poetic about this whole situation. Not only did it all turn in his favor, not only is he now the man smiling, freaking sitting up there like this, right? Not only is he the freaking guy, is he the star? Is he one of the best pound for pound fighters on the planet? Not only is he the guy that is bringing the UFC back to the UK and drawing a $9 million gate, that's freaking Las Vegas numbers. At the O2, think about all the big names at the O2 who have fought at the O2. From Bisping and those guys to boxing, everyone's begging to fight him. It's amazing. Leon fighting in Abu Dhabi against Islam. What are you talking about? Bro, this guy, all of a sudden, Leon Edwards, this is no cap. This is one of the biggest draws in MMA. How many people are selling $9 million gates? Quiet Leon, unassuming Leon, hardworking Leon. Oh my God. What a freaking moment. I'm so hyped right now. It's nice when from time to time the good guys win. And for the record, I have no issues with Kamaru Usman whatsoever. He had an unbelievable run. He did it the right way. He didn't cheat. He didn't cut corners. He fought all comers. But there's something about this guy who's, not a showman, not a braggadocious guy, doesn't puff his chest out, not exactly the best of self-promoters, but he's a freaking good fighter. He's a freaking amazing fighter. And when he is on like he was on Saturday, he is on. First round to him, 4th round to him, 5th round to him, 3rd round was a 10-8 for Usman. Usman won the round. He was going to win 10-9 point deduction. And the 2nd round was what it came down to, in my opinion. And that was a 10-9 for Leon. I know New York Rick is all fired up as well. So is GC. Let's bring in the guys here and talk more about this. We've got some time. What about this, guys? In New York Rick, we've been covering this sport a long time.
Yeah.
The turn of events here for Leon Edwards. He's talking about, like, you remember those pandemic interviews I was doing with him for ESPN?
Yep.
Like,
I remember them well.
Depressed he was. Now look at his demeanor. Now look at him fighting on the stage that was Saturday, the O2. This is up there with one of the best stories that we've ever, I think, that we've ever seen in MMA.
Yeah, I tweeted out on Saturday, or did I do it Sunday, that Leon Edwards got this through the mud, man. Like, the winning streak he was on, the number of times he signed up to fight Khamzat Chimaev. I don't care that ultimately, like, the Nate Diaz fight was the fight that gets him over the top, because that's the fight that was presented to him. That's the fight that they wanted him to fight. He earned it the hard way. Very much like Bilal Muhammad is having to do right now. He earned it the hard way. So anybody who has a problem with what he's saying about wanting to control his destiny and choose who he fights and be the one to make that decision needs to just kick rocks. Like, just go away. I don't want to hear it. Like, he should be the one who now finally broke through, beat Kamaru Usman, who's a pound-for-pound great, defended it, did it again. He should be the one determining his own future. There's certainly something to say about fighting top contenders. He's right that there's not a clear one, in my opinion, other than Bilal Muhammad. I think if you're doing meritocracy, there's only the name Bilal Muhammad. He should be able to control his destiny. He should be able to choose his fight. There's a built-in storyline with Masvidal, so I don't understand why that's not an automatic kind of first option.
So you know what the people say about Masvidal, right? Because I agree. See, to me, this is how it should go. It should go, first of all, can we just talk about the lunacy of almost diminishing the importance? Like, when that fight was over, I was like, man, they just got a big one on their hands in less than a month, right? In 3 weeks in Miami. Now it feels like Gilbert Burns versus Jorge Masvidal could be billed as a #1 contender fight, right? And what do? You go out to the post-fight press conference and you just diminish it. You just say the stakes are nothing for that fight. What?
Yeah.
How is that? This is like demoting, not promoting. Like, let's see how it plays out. By the way, same guy who has told us time and again he doesn't make fights on Saturday, all of a sudden had the whole thing laid out on Saturday. What is going on? And to do that without the champion's desires, wishes, the guy who just generated a $9 million gate, and you can't tell me that it wasn't because of him, because what did the last card do? Right? The last card in London 7, 8 months ago, didn't do 9 million. The one in March of last year with Paddy, the big star, didn't do 9 million. So clearly this guy means something to those people, right? There was only one title fight on the card. It wasn't like there was 3. And so you're not even going to talk to him. You're going to have Colby, who has been disrespecting him for, and again, Colby's great, but you got to go out and win a fight. So I know what the other people are going to say. Well, what about, how could you say Masvidal? Well, what the difference is Masvidal, jumped him. Masvidal jumped Leon Edwards in 2019, and he never had to answer to that. And I said it, and his team got mad at me time and again. You jumped him, all right? You deserve, there should be some sort of reckoning here. The same way Khabib and Conor had to fight after the Dolly, those guys had to fight. Now, they tried to make the fight, what was it, late 2021, got injured, moved on, got the title shot. So that's why Masvidal, if he beats a Gilbert Burns, should be considered. But the truth is, if Gilbert Burns wins on April 8th, it should be down to Gilbert or Bilal Muhammad. And there's a story with Bilal.
For sure. The IPO. Can I just say something? I agree with you regarding the fact that there's a built-in storyline that Leon got jumped and should want retribution, but I don't think you even need to think that deeply about it. Colby Covington, like, people want to talk about the Masvidal loss to Colby Covington. I get it. Yeah, Masvidal lost to Covington, heads up. It's been a rough run for Jorge Masvidal. But are we acting like Colby Covington has some kind of like ironclad case to be in a title conversation?
No.
Since Jorge Masvidal's run of success, he's beaten Jorge. He has the win over the guy that you're questioning whether he should deserve this opportunity, and Tyron Woodley. It's not been some tremendous run for Colby Covington. He's been sitting out, and he's got 2 losses to Usman, sandwiched between a win over Tyron Woodley and a win over Masvidal. So it's not like Colby Covington is some deserving champion. He's going to sell the fight, but so is Jorge Masvidal. I'm not trying to say that I have an issue with Colby Covington getting a title shot. I said it on Twitter, and I got some pushback against it. My issue is, why do we need to have it declared on fight night? Why can't we wait to see how Jorge and Gilbert plays out? What is the rush? What is the reason?
Oh, because he made weight. Because he flew out there.
Doesn't make sense. It makes no sense. There's no reason that Colby Covington should have been promised that opportunity, unless there's something that I'm not aware of, unless there's something behind the scenes that I'm not aware of. Wait 3 weeks. Just wait 3 weeks and see how Jorge Masvidal plays out. It's not a competition between Jorge Masvidal and Colby Covington of who gets the shot. It's a competition amongst all the welterweights. If you're going to make it a meritocracy, it's Bilal Muhammad, and there's nobody else. There's literally nobody else that can make the case that Bilal Muhammad can make if you're going to talk about who earned it by fighting, the same way Leon did. But if you're going to make the case about selling pay-per-views and entertainment that Colby Covington brings, I get it. But so does the storyline between Leon Edwards and Jorge Masvidal, when he jumped him, and now this is his chance at retribution. And not for nothing, that's the fight Leon Edwards wants. And I think that should carry some weight, and I think that should mean something.
That's the point right there.
So I don't have a problem with Colby Covington getting a title shot. I need to make that clear, because I think Colby Covington's fan base is a little bit devoid of critical thinking and comprehension skills when it comes to this. Colby Covington can get a title shot. That's fine. But we can wait 3 weeks to determine that. We can wait to see how Jorge Masvidal's fight plays out. And if he wins.
Let me be very clear. He doesn't deserve a title shot. What do you mean? How could you be fine with it? How could you be fine with it even in 3 weeks?
How could I be fine if he gets a title shot?
Yeah.
Because
what are you talking about?
The only one who has a better case is Bilal Muhammad.
So give it to him.
Sure.
By the way, there's a better story with Bilal and Leon than there is with Colby and Leon. They fought and it ended unceremoniously.
I'm fine with any of them.
Listen,
I'm fine with
this is going to make Bilal's head spin because he has this idea in his mind that I have some agenda. I have no agenda against him. I think he's a fantastic fighter. I have no issues with him whatsoever. He should be fucking pissed off right now. He should be absolutely pissed off that they're trying to make him versus Shavkat Rakhmonov in July and Colby's going to waltz into a title. This guy's right. Leon's right. Colby hasn't said a peep. All of a sudden now he's popping up everywhere. Hasn't said a peep since last March. Hasn't said a peep since last March. And this is the best. Everyone's gonna be like, you're only saying this because Colby doesn't come on your show. You think Bilal's coming on my show? You fucking morons. He ain't coming on my show. There's a better chance of Colby coming on my show than Bilal at this point. Point is, Sean Brady, Vicente Luque, Wonderboy Thompson, Damian Maia, Leon No Contest, Diego Lima, Lyman Good, Takashi Sato, Curtis Millender. That's Bilal's run. That is more impressive than anything that, and that's dating back to 2019. You know what Colby has done dating back to 2019? Masvidal win, Usman lost, title shot number 2, Woodley win, Usman lost, title shot number 1, Robbie Lawler. That's his run. That's his run since 2019. Oh, by the way, Gilbert Burns, more active, Magny win, fighting Masvidal. You can add that if he wins in 3 weeks. Khamzat lost, tremendous, but did get the loss. Stephen Thompson win, Usman title shot number 1 loss. Woodley win, Maia win, Gunnar Nelson win. That's a more impressive run than 100%. What Colby has done. And he got 2 shots at the belt. You can make a case right now. Like, first off, if Khamzat was still a 170-pounder, I would say just do Khamzat.
Just do it. Yep.
It clearly seems like he's not. God bless. Then it's Bilal. Then it's Gilbert. If Masvidal wins, I would jump him up because of the story. And because, as you said, the champ should have a say in this matter. I can assure you, every champ has some kind of say, and it's not right that this guy has no say in the matter. This guy was jumped. He deserves a say, and guess what? Masvidal versus Leon, if Masvidal somehow turns back the clock and beats Gilbert, is bigger business than Leon versus Colby.
That's what I was just about to ask you. Why is there an assumption that Colby is bigger business? I don't understand it. How is Leon versus Jorge not a bigger fight?
Makes no sense. All of this is backwards.
I feel like I'm crazy.
The notion that we're always told we don't make fights on Saturday, the notion that just because he weighed in, he's the automatic guy, the notion that he hasn't fought in a year. Like, I feel like we've heard this. You got to be active. You got to fight. You can't turn down fights. Remember when we heard Dustin Poirier was scared? Remember, like, they've told us themselves that they've tried to make Khamzat. Remember they were supposed to do Khamzat versus Colby on ABC in July? Remember that? Like, they've told us themselves this, and now
we don't want to roll back the footage of Colby Covington talking about how inactive Leon Edwards was and why he shouldn't be in the top, because that would be pretty damning for Colby Covington's case. Again, I think it's important to make clear though. You said Colby shouldn't get it. I'm fine with Colby getting it because I'm okay with the entertainment of it. I don't think meritocracy exists in the UFC anymore, and I'm okay if Colby Covington ultimately gets a title shot. But I just don't understand the rush. I don't understand the rush. It makes zero sense. There's not one reason that I can legitimately think of that it makes sense to not wait 3 weeks and see if Jorge. And even if you wait 3 weeks, Jorge Masvidal wins that fight and has a great performance, even then make the decision, okay, you know what? It wasn't a good enough performance and we don't think the story's there. We'll give it to Colby Covington. I'm still fine with that. But why now? Why now? It feels rushed. There's no reason. There's not a reason I can think of.
GC, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm 100% with you. I mean, by the way, I love how fired up y'all are getting about this. I was just letting y'all go. I mean, you guys are ready to go. I'm with you guys. Why do we have to rush it? Why can't we wait? It's right there on a platter for us in 3 weeks in Miami. Jorge Masvidal in front of his home crowd. Imagine if he's able to get back on the winning track. He can find, maybe a knockout against Gilbert Burns. The whole crowd goes crazy. He gets on the mic. He calls out Leon Edwards. Let's finally settle this after what happened backstage years ago. I mean, it just feels like it there. And then Burns as well. If Burns just keeps on winning, I mean, who'd you say his 2 losses were to? Khamzat Chimaev and Kamaru Usman. Like he's got a fantastic resume as well, and then Bilal too. Like if you're going off of the resume, it does feel weird. Though I do lean to Rick's side in the terms of I don't mind Colby getting a shot because it will be entertaining, it will sell pay-per-views, and he is one of the top welterweights in the world. But yeah, the rush to me just feels unnecessary.
Listen, if Burns and Masvidal fight to some kind of draw, and Bilal is injured, then yeah, it makes total sense to give it to Colby.
You can just always have the option. You can, like, there's no reason, like, Dana on Saturday night.
Title fights.
It's not only meritocracy.
Okay, let me ask you this. Of course, it's not only meritocracy. Let me ask you this, Eric. Let me ask you this.
So what?
If
in
Usman
your mind,
would have
though,
won on Saturday,
let me just ask you this. In your mind, do we even need to wait for the Jorge fight? Are you going the opposite direction where it's just like, let's do Bilal right away?
Hey, listen, if I was promoting the UFC, I would say, I would go to that press conference on Saturday and say, I tell you what, guys, I'll tell you what, boys, the stakes just got raised for April 8th. Tune in on ESPN Plus pay-per-view because now that fight is even bigger.
So then you can't I would say that you can't counter with Colby's resume if that's your argument, right? You can't.
Let me counter with
propping up Jorge and counter that.
I am going to prop up Jorge. You know why?
Colby's resume is not good enough.
You know why?
You
know why I'll prop up Jorge? Number one, a win over Gilbert Burns is bigger than a win over Jorge, and those will be their last wins.
Yeah.
Number one.
Fair.
Number two, let me ask you this.
But neither of them is having a good run right now.
But could I ask you this question?
Be real.
If Kamaru Usman would have won on Saturday, would Colby have gone to the title shot?
No shot.
So then what the hell? What are you doing? What are we doing?
So much.
What are we doing? What are we doing? Then it can't be based on who has the belt all the time. Like that makes no sense. There has to be some level of merit involved. If Usman won that fight on Saturday, what would the promise have then been to Colby? You can't tell me that you promised it because there's no way you can sell a third fight with Usman and Colby when he's 2-0.
Thanks for coming out. Appreciate what you did.
Here's your $40K. God bless. You know,
what I thought was so weird
we'll give you Bilal in the summer or something.
Was that someone threw it out to Dana and was just like, well, what about Miami in a few weeks? And he was just like, nope, it's Colby. Doesn't matter what happens.
Don't get that.
I just don't understand doing that.
I'm okay with Colby for the fighting for the title, but I do not get that. I do not understand that.
Listen, I give Leon a lot of props for saying no here. We'll see what happens. You know, maybe they just up the ante and pay him, and then God bless. Then he wins again, right? Like he's at least sticking to his guns. I don't feel comfortable in prize fighting, especially when there's a champion, and especially a champion who just made you a lot of money. I don't feel comfortable. And look, I heard Dana talking about, someone asked him at the press conference, who was it? I think it was Donna Corby asked him about Fury Usyk, and he's like, this is it. This is boxing. This is what you guys want. Like, this is why the UFC is better. We make the fights. And there is a level of truth. Like, we don't see these situations play out like we do in boxing. We talked about this last week, how it gets a little tiresome seeing all this back and forth. But I do not feel comfortable when it's just like, hey, champ, here's who's next. No, there has to be some sort of discussion. There has to be. And by the way, let alone the fact that, like, he just found out at the weigh. I guess his manager knew, Tim knew, and didn't tell him. What? Just found out at the weigh-ins?
I mean, I can understand if his manager didn't tell him to not mess with his head. You know, like why?
Also, why are they finding out a week before?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's besides the point. At this point,
he should have a say.
He should have a say. He should.
In fact, I would say he should have the biggest say. But that's potentially a dicey territory because all of a sudden you might be wanting to fight only money fights and not fight any contenders. I think it's a negotiation. It's a negotiation, but also objectively, and I keep coming back to this, Jorge Masvidal versus Leon Edwards is the biggest fight they can make to me. I don't understand why we're so ready to rush on from that. Let's just wait. Let us just wait. What is the rush? What is the rush? Why are we discounting that right away? Leon wants it. It would be big business for the UFC. Jorge Masvidal is a draw. Let's just wait. Let's just wait. And you know what? We could all be sitting here in 3 weeks and have egg on our face. Jorge Masvidal goes in there, turns back the clock, calls out Leon Edwards, and all of a sudden they say, you know what? Maybe we're going to reverse course. Maybe we're going to change our minds and give him exactly what he wants. I'm willing to accept that if they're willing to do it. But yeah, I don't understand why that fight needed to be made on Saturday night. I don't get it, and I will continue to not get it.
Let's take a step back as we jumped into what's next before really celebrating Saturday.
Yeah.
How did you guys score the fight? GC, I know you were on the watch party. Like I said, I had it 1-2, 4 and 5 for Leon, 3-point deduction, 10-8 for Usman. Had no problem, by the way, with the point deduction, and I'm happy that he had no problem. I honestly don't think that there should have been a warning. Like, that was clear. I actually think that there's a case that could be made when you get into those situations that it's a point deduction and you got to start on the bottom because you were headed to the bottom. You were headed to the mat. I actually feel like, because then, like, if I'm fighting,
don't know though. You can't say with 100% certainty that he was going to go to the mat. It sucks, but you can't say with 100% certainty. So I understand, but yeah.
Listen, if I was fighting Khamzat Chimaev in there, I just keep taking the points and be like, we're just going to stand, if we're just going to keep standing, like you have to punish
He might
them.
beat you up on the feet too.
He would definitely
an absolute savage.
Let's
kill me
be real
in
here.
4 seconds.
No, I didn't.
How did you score it?
In real time, going round by round, like we obviously score the fight as we're watching it on the watch party. I ended up with a scorecard of a draw, but as the fight was ending, I was like, this is going to be Leon winning it. I scored it 1, 4, and 5 for Leon, and then 2 for Usman and 3 for Usman with the point deduction. But the 2 and 3, like, it wasn't something that I was confidently saying. Like, but in real time, I scored it 47-47. Though I have zero issue at all with the 48-46. And if I went back and rewatched the fight, I could probably see myself getting around to that.
Rick?
Yeah. I had it 48-46 Leon. I had it first round for Leon, second round for Kamaru, third round for Leon, fourth round for Leon, fifth round for Leon.
Yeah, so same as me. What about the rest?
No, I did not have the third round for Kamaru.
Oh, really?
I had it 9-9.
Yeah.
Wow, so you didn't give Kamaru any rounds?
No, the second round.
Oh, you did give them
I
the
gave
second?
him the second round.
Okay, sorry.
And I gave Leon the third round. I know that it seems to be based on the cards and the topic of conversation that rounds 2 and 4 are kind of the swing rounds, right? It seems like I thought it was clearer in my first watch that Kamaru had won the second round. That seems to be a little more debatable. The judges did not give it to him. I think only one. And the fourth round seemed to be more clear in people's eyes than mine for Kamaru Usman. But even if you swap those, any kind of configuration, you're ultimately ending up with 48-46 Leon or 47-47 draw. The way you get to the 48-46 for Kamaru, which I don't think most people got to, there's definitely some, but I don't think most people would have gotten to, you'd have to score 2, 3, and 4 for Kamaru, which I think is tough. I didn't see 3 rounds in there that I would
For the draw? Or
no,
for the
that's
win?
for Usman to win.
Okay, yeah. No,
You'd
I don't think
scored.
I thought at worst for Leon, it would be a draw,
Yeah.
which he would retain the belt anyway.
That was where I went, but I had it for Leon.
To me, the big story was the wrestling from Leon Edwards.
Absolutely.
The takedown defense. A, the way in which he was stopping takedowns. B, the way in which he was stopping the fight from going to the cage. C, the way in which he was popping up after being taken down. Like, there were very few moments, like we saw in the second fight in Salt Lake City, second, third, and fourth rounds, like we saw in their first fight back in Orlando in 2015. I mean, it was like a completely different guy out there. I was talking to DC today. Again, shout out, happy birthday. And he was like, when he came to AKA, Leon came to AKA at the beginning of his UFC career, he didn't know how to wrestle at all. He had no idea how to wrestle. Like you could take him down at ease. To see that guy against someone as good as Kamaru Usman on Saturday just keep popping back up or just stopping the shots, I was blown away by that because we all thought Usman's going to try to take the fight to the ground. He's going to try to make it dirty, keep him close, use the wrestling, maybe not the prettiest fight of all time, but just get the W and get back on track. And that was clear what the game plan was. Leon was fantastic.
I thought tactically Usman was a little late to start trying the takedowns. I feel like he could have been more aggressive with them earlier when he had more gas in the tank. I saw something from Kamaru Usman I've never seen before, which is he gassed out pretty heavily. Like, he was just, the punches were sluggish by the end. The shots were telegraphed. He just was not the Kamaru Usman that I'm used to seeing in terms of the cardio and the ability to kind of be dangerous late in the fight. But if you tell me that the fight is going to play out in the middle, primarily, if you tell me that Kamaru Usman is going to have a tough time getting Leon against the cage, if you tell me once he gets Leon against the cage, he's going to have a tough time keeping him there, Leon is going to win that fight 10 times out of 10. That particular style matchup with the way Leon was able to fight, where he was able to circle off Kamaru's clinches and keep the fight in the middle, and when he was in the middle, do a lot of damage with those kicks to the oblique kicks and the kicks to the body, just peppering Kamaru. That's a hard fight for Kamaru to win. I don't see how he can win that fight. He needs to be much more effective in the takedowns. He needs to be doing it earlier, and he just did not seem to have that. And Leon seemed to be firing on all cylinders. So I was very impressed with Leon. I was a little bit disappointed with what I saw from Kamaru Usman. He didn't look as good as I had seen in the past. But as I mentioned, and many have mentioned, this is not the peak of Kamaru Usman's career, right? We're on the back nine now. And is time catching up to him? Or is it maybe other things in mind, right? Seeing the finish line and potentially not being as aggressive toward it. But all that said, the thing that I took away the most from the Kamaru Usman side of that is A, what a great champion he was to have, and B, the comments after the fight, like that was incredible stuff. Like I almost got a little choked up. I'm almost getting choked up right now to be that humble a champion and to kind of like pass. Excuse me, that wasn't me getting choked.
Wow,
up.
I was just like, holy shit.
No. I wasn't that. I wasn't that choked up. But to pass the baton in that way was very classy, like super classy in that moment. There's a lot of fighters who would either kind of no sell it or kind of take the opportunity to say, like, I have to get back in there and kind of come back. He went straight to giving Leon Edwards credit and straight to talking about that rivalry and putting that to bed and saying maybe, we'll see each other again. But I was very impressed with how Kamaru handled that. And I think he's shifting into a new part in his career, but I think he deserves a ton of credit for the way he handled that post-fight, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's 35, about to turn 36 in May. I think it's a very fair and complimentary statement to say Kamaru Usman overachieved, right? Like when he came into the UFC, when he came into MMA, I don't think anyone thought that he would go down as one of the best welterweight champions of all time. And that's what he's become. Winning the Ultimate Fighter, he wasn't really a heralded name, goes on this amazing run. Like there's nothing to be ashamed of. In fact, I feel like we've talked, there's still some fight left, and he's still one of the best welterweights in the world.
Yep.
But, we were wondering how he would respond from the knockout. We wondered how historically you lose the title, you come back immediately, you're losing that second fight. You lose the title via finish, via knockout, you're definitely losing that second fight. That's what the stats, that's what the history book says. And we focused a lot, and the more interesting story to talk about is Leon Edwards and what's next for him. But I actually feel like it's really interesting to talk about what's next for Kamaru Usman now after this.
Absolutely.
And I'm not sure. Obviously, some things need to play out, right? Like if Masvidal loses to Burns, you're not doing Masvidal and Usman 3. There's absolutely no interest in that. The other names that are available, it sounds to me like they're going to try to do Bilal versus Shavkat in the summertime. Is there a desire to see Stephen Wonderboy Thompson versus Usman? I don't think so. You've got Jeff Neal coming off a loss. You've got Sean Brady coming. I don't hate that Sean Brady one, by the way.
To what end, though? Is Kamaru Usman trying to be a top welterweight again? Is that the goal?
But I mean, who else is out there?
This is my take on it, and I don't imagine Kamaru Usman agrees with it. But the fights that I would want to see for Kamaru Usman are at 185 or Khamzat Chimaev. I would be okay with a 170 against Khamzat, but you could even do that at 85. He's done everything at 170. If he's trying to climb that mountaintop again, more power to him. I wish him good luck, but that's not what I'm particularly interested in. I've seen him against so many of these top contenders. I'm not really itching for that. And I also think as long as Leon is champion, it's going to be a hard road back there. The same way Colby Covington had to sit out for so long to get back, and the champion had to change hands. So I would take a Khamzat fight, or I'd rather see him take a crack at 85. If it goes well, stay there. If it doesn't, maybe call it a day, spend time with the daughter that he continues to praise and spend so much time with. And I think it's an awesome story, his bond with her. Just take the money and run. So that's how.
So you want to see him fight at 85 or him fight Khamzat at 170?
Khamzat or at 170 or 85. Or 85. I'm not interested in Kamaru Usman against top 170 contenders. For one reason, he might be still good enough to kind of knock them off, and then we're in a bad position where the contenders are not going to feel fresh anymore. But also, I've seen him against so many of these guys. It's the same names that are still at the top outside of Shavkat Rakhmonov. I'm okay with him chasing other types of opportunities, and I think he'd be fine at 85. Now, if it doesn't go well, walk away. Walk away.
I kind of dig
his legacy
him versus Sean Brady.
For what, though?
I don't know. It's an interesting style.
What if he wins? Now you just knocked off Sean Brady for no reason.
He could definitely win, yeah. I mean, that feels like a big jump for...
It was a big...
I know he just fought Bilal, who's on a fantastic winning streak of his own.
This all depends on where Kamaru Usman sees himself in his career.
Right.
Does he want to be a 170-pound contender anymore?
I don't see Kamaru Usman taking the Sean Brady fight.
Kamaru Usman fighting at 85 just seems, I don't know. Maybe it doesn't seem like he has to cut an enormous amount of weight.
A year ago, he wanted to go to 205.
Yeah, it's true. He wanted to fight Jan Blachowicz. Crazy how quickly things change in this game,
Oh my
right?
gosh, that's the biggest thing I've learned about this.
We went
sport.
from talking about Canelo
instantaneously.
There's some matchup advantages at 85 that I think Kamaru Usman could play to, that could take advantage.
Kamaru versus Alex Pereira, who wins?
Oh, come on, man.
I mean, I'm gonna favor Alex, but I mean,
Why
is that a crazy fight?
No.
No, it's not a crazy fight. I think Kamaru Usman has a lot of different options available to him right now, and I'm interested to see how it plays out. The one that I like the least as a fan is 170-pound contender, because the title is in the hands of Leon Edwards, and I don't foresee him getting back there soon. So I would rather see him take other opportunities, money fights, fight freaking Conor McGregor, call out everybody, Khamzat, call out the guys that people want to see fights against that you don't need to be highly ranked to kind of take the advantage.
Can I ask you guys a question? You know how last week we were debating quite, aggressively, yes, 135, 125, et cetera, et cetera. Is male 185 the worst division in the UFC?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
probably going to always say heavyweight.
But heavyweight's got John Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah, the champ is great. But
okay, can we just compare? Can we just compare top 5 versus top 5?
Okay, that's a different combo. Yeah.
Okay, this is now we're getting into this.
You gotta be real clear with the combos here with Rick.
Hit me.
Okay, John Jones.
Listen,
John Jones champion. Cyril Gane, Stipe Miocic, Sergey Pavlovich, Curtis Blades,
that's
Tom
a good
Aspinall.
top 5. That's a good top.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a very good
compared
top.
to that's champion plus 5.
Okay, yeah. All right.
Alex Pereira, champ. Izzy, Robert Whitaker, Jared Cannonier, Marvin Vittori, Paulo Costa.
That's still pretty damn good, though.
Heavyweight's way better.
Heavyweight.
Yeah, but is that the worst one? I'm sure you could find a worse top 5 than that.
Yeah, I guess.
Whitaker, Adesanya, and Pereira alone is like a murderer's row.
Maybe 2.
Those are 3.
What if Khamzat comes up to middleweight? Then what do we do?
Yeah, changes everything.
I don't know about that.
All right, fine.
But the drop off at heavyweight after those names,
I'm just saying, Usman could do work. I think in that top 5. Usman could do work in that top 5.
I agree. I proposed it. I agree with you.
Usman Whitaker.
Usman Cannonier. Who wins?
Usman Cannonier.
Yeah, that's a fun fight. I'd like to see that style matchup.
You know what? You're convincing me. Maybe a fresh coat of paint on the career, a new chapter.
It's less about like me being like, oh boy, Kamaru Usman's gonna make a run at 185. It's more just like the days of the welterweight contender are done. Like Leon's the champion right now. That trilogy's settled. We're good. I want to see him in more fun fights than like chasing welterweight contention. Make the run at middleweight, and if it goes successfully, sky's the limit. Get another title. Try to do that. I think Kamaru Usman's welterweight legacy is so firmly established. Like we're good. Like that dude was legit and really solidified his name there. Try something new, or be the one to stick your finger in Khamzat Chimaev's chest and say, everybody doesn't want it, I want it, and see what happens there.
I will say, coming off 2 losses, one of which you were knocked out in, Khamzat next is a tough one.
You gotta take a shot here if you're Kamaru Usman, in my opinion. Take a risk. Do something interesting.
GC, Leon, Colby Covington, who wins? Based on what we saw on Saturday with the wrestling.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that Rick pointed out was Usman. It did feel like he was tiring in the later rounds of the fight, and I just have a hard time seeing Colby Covington tire. I think it's a really good fight, and I think it all just comes down to, can Colby execute the wrestling? I mean, from Saturday night, it seems like Leon has thoroughly improved his takedown defense. I don't know if that's where Kamaru's at in his career, or if Leon has just improved that much. I can't pick against Leon on the Monday after he
listen, I mean, there's good matchups, there's bad matchups, right? Jorge is a good matchup for him.
I don't think it's a great
good
matchup
for him.
Yeah, I'll say that.
I would have to favor Colby, I think. The relentless.
There's a line out. Is there a line out?
I think it's minus 135 Colby, plus 115 Leon.
That seems right. And that's no disrespect to Leon Edwards, but the relentlessness of Colby's wrestling, the volume. See, Kamaru Usman was lower on volume than Leon Edwards, and when he got Leon against the cage, he wasn't doing anything with it. He wasn't able to chain wrestle. He wasn't able to do anything to really get him down. Colby Covington's going to be like a dog on a bone when it comes to that, and he's really going to be trying. Is he going to be successful? I ultimately don't know, and that's why I think the line should be close and would be close in my mind. But Colby's relentlessness, that pace, that cardio. I'll tell you this, in round 5, he's not going to be looking gassed. Colby Covington is I know he jokes about it, but he is a cardio machine, and that's a tough style. We just saw this with Merab, right? Like the efficiency doesn't matter. Colby Covington is going to be on you from moment 1 to the last moment, to the 25-minute bell rings. And that's a tough That's a tough thing to handle. But Leon is a really good defensive fighter, and when he picks his spots, he makes them count. Those kicks, those body shots were brutal. I like that fight stylistically. Got no problem with it. I like that fight a lot. I'd probably lean Colby.
Can I present something to you guys? And I want to give a shout out to MMA Island on Twitter, who has brought this to my attention. And again, you can make yourself crazy when you do this type of stuff with the UFC, because there is no rhyme or reason. It's based on a lot of different circumstances and timing and whatnot. These are Jorge Masvidal's last 5 fights. Win over Darren Till, knocked him out in 2019. Flying knee over Ben Askren. The win over Nathan Diaz. Title shot Usman. Week's notice, title shot Usman, loses, knockout, lost to Colby Covington, lost those fights fair and square. Those are his last 5 fights going into, those are 6 fights going into April 8th against Gilbert Burns.
Mm-hmm.
I want to counter with these 6 fights, okay?
Sure.
Shogun Rua, knockout win. Daniel Cormier, submission loss. Gegard Mousasi, TKO loss. Tim Boetsch, knockout win. Vitor Belfort, knockout loss. Hector Lombard, knockout win. Those were Dan Henderson's last 5 fights going into a title fight against Michael Bisping, a fight that would have never happened if Michael Bisping wasn't the champion. They brought it back to the UK so Bisping could avenge that moment, right that wrong from UFC 100. Masvidal's run is more impressive than that. Michael Bisping, at the time he was champion, fighting Dan Henderson, Henderson was like 13th ranked in the 85. Now, again, we can do this game all we want, but there's a precedent here.
Why do we have to overanalyze this and justify the Jorge Masvidal title shot?
Oh, because you know what people are going to say.
There's one specific reason.
How could you say that this is the right thing to do and say Colby doesn't deserve it?
Because neither of them deserve it. The word deserves is the stupidest word in MMA. I'm so sick of the word deserves. It's the dumbest possible word.
It should mean something.
Everybody uses it like it actually means something. It means absolutely nothing. It's so dumb. Colby Covington deserves it over Jorge Masvidal. No, neither of them deserve anything. Bilal Muhammad and Gilbert Burns are 25 steps ahead of both of them. It's just nonsense. There's one reason why Jorge Masvidal will get that opportunity, and it's because he attacked Leon backstage, and that's good enough for me. And that's good enough for everybody else. And it would sell a hell of a lot of pay-per-views. And the UFC should want to be in that business, and Leon Edwards wants to be in that business. It's as simple as that. It's not complicated. We don't need to overthink it. We don't need to justify it. And it's fine. It's perfectly fine. Yeah, there's precedent. That's great, but I don't care if there's even precedent or not. Leon Edwards wants it. The UFC should want it. It would sell. Good enough for me. And you know what? Leon Edwards had to wait a while, and then he finally got a shot. I'm hoping that the same thing happens for Bilal Muhammad. I'm hoping, man, he has a tough road ahead if he does get matched up with Shavkat Rakhmonov. That ain't easy work. But I'm hoping that Bilal Muhammad does get that opportunity at some point. But it's okay for Leon Edwards on the back of 2 Kamaru Usman fights to say, I want Jorge Masvidal. This is fine.
We have a couple clips of Dana talking at the press conference. Can we play those real quick and talk a little more about the press conference? Because I know New York Rick had some thoughts about the press conference. I think it was an all-timer.
As if he's not fired up.
It was an all-timer.
Enough already.
You know what? I like the fact that for once I'm not the most fired up one.
I love it that we have 2 straight Mondays where you and Rick have come.
But this time I'm on his side.
Flamethrower. Yeah.
This is great. Here's Dana White at the press conference.
He's hollering in here.
Saturday night. Here he is, El Presidente.
Obviously, we had Colby Covington cage side. He wants to fight Leon in July. I'm curious if that's a fight you're interested in, or do you need to see how it plays out?
Yeah, I don't know when we'll do it, but yeah, that's the fight that makes sense. And Colby came here and cut weight.
He doesn't make fights on Saturday.
And did everything to be here for this fight. He deserves the fight.
So it's Leon Edwards versus...
Not to mention the fact that he's, the 2nd or 3rd best guy in the world.
So it is Leon versus Colby next?
Yeah.
And I know that you pretty much confirmed that Colby's going to get the next shot, but if Jorge Masvidal was to do something spectacular against Gilbert Burns, would you be willing to give him the title shot, given the history that he has with Leon?
Colby gets the next shot, no matter what happens.
Crazy. Could you imagine? You have a fight coming up in 3 weeks. You have an actual potential massive fight.
If I say any more about this, I'm going to have an aneurysm. I don't have...
It doesn't make sense. Why? Why?
In Miami, too. Jorge's home.
Think about how big... It was right there on a silver platter for you. You walk up there and you say, Miami just got bigger. No, it just got bigger.
Yeah, of course you do.
And by the way, if Usman would have won, it would have been potentially like for the UFC from a business standpoint, kind of a worse scenario because he's been so dominant for so long, right? He has the 2 wins over Masvidal. He has the 2 wins over Colby. He has the win over Gilbert. Now all of a sudden, you got this guy who hasn't fought these guys. Oh my God! And we've got Gilbert and Masvidal coming up in 3 weeks. This is incredible. This is a promoter's dream. Just shit on it. What? I don't get that. Don't get it at all. It was such a bizarre press conference, right? It was bizarre, like almost going against everything he always tells us. Don't make fights on Saturday. The stuff about the Apex all of a sudden changing tune on that, right?
Well, that one hurt my heart.
I love that.
Oh, fuck off.
No, that's fantastic.
We're getting too close. Guys, did you hear the news? The pandemic is over. They're leaving the Apex. Wow. The world is opening up. Wow. Thank you.
Also, when he got a slap question, he did my man.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. The whole thing. The whole thing.
I'm sad.
You're sad about the Apex?
R.I.P. to the Apex.
By the way, they're still going to do stuff at the Apex.
Yeah, I don't know if it's RIP yet.
They're still going to do stuff at the Apex.
Not enough for my...
Listen.
They're gonna put some cards on that are Apex worthy.
Tough, contender,
Thank you, Frank.
power slap nonsense, that could all be at the Apex.
Yeah.
High level, like, could you imagine this Saturday we were going to watch Cheeto Vera and Corey Sandhagen at the Apex?
I'm glad we're not.
But I think that's right. That's the right move.
You don't say.
Look. My argument isn't that the Apex is better. My argument is that the Apex is fine.
What do you think he meant? What do you think he meant when he said we're getting too cozy there?
That they're not motivated to go on the road, right? It is too easy. It is too easy to just plop a card in Vegas at the Apex and fly everybody in, have the lodging and the PI there and the staff ready. There's logistical things that you have to do to go on the road, and I think it's easy to shirk those responsibilities if you're not really motivated to do it. But I think you can get too cozy, like
the people who still work from home in their pajamas. This is the analogy he used to always say, right? Like the people who still work from home in their pajamas doing Zoom meetings. We can't be like those people.
Yeah,
they became those people.
Yep.
Shout out to Anderson Silva. Nice to see him get inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame, or at least the announcement that he's going to be inducted in July. Saw a lot of people who said it's about time. I actually disagree with that. I like the 4-year thing. It's only been 3.5 years since not even 3.5 years since his last UFC fight, October of 2020. So it would be 2.5 years, 3 in October since his last UFC fight. So I think the time is appropriate.
Do you think that's a product of like them determining his candidacy? He's Hall of Fame with a bullet since
sure
10 years ago.
No, but I think everyone so was Derek Jeter.
Jose Aldo just went in and he retired like a minute.
Okay, so that's the thing. If everyone's getting in the day they retire, then of course he had to be at the top of the list. I'm just saying a little distance I think makes it even more special.
I got to be honest, it rubbed me the wrong way.
Wait, what about it rubs you
the announcement?
Not the announcement. Honestly, it was Dana White's comment.
Let's see.
At the press conference.
Tell us.
When he said, like, he was talking about Anderson Silva, and he was kind of like, here's the opportunity to talk glowingly about Anderson Silva, one of the best champions in UFC history. And Dana was like, yeah, he was good, like, blah blah blah. Finally, and I was like, finally, like. Jose Aldo retired 4 minutes ago, and you guys put him in. I'm sure you could influence the decision to have put Anderson Silva in 2.5 years ago. Like, this is not some situation where it's like he finally earned it, the hard road.
Yeah.
He finally determined his candidacy. Finally,
yeah.
Like, what are we waiting for? What were we waiting for? Anderson Silva's one of the greatest fighters of all time in combat sports. Could have been in the Hall of Fame 2 years ago. It just like.
Listen, they went through the criteria. He got enough votes to get in.
Yeah, I'm with the camp of like this took too long. This took way too long.
I like the rest period beforehand. Like you have to wait a certain number of years, kind of like
if
the
that
NFL
was
does it.
established, cool.
That's what I'm saying. I think they should establish that.
But it's not.
Like Tom Brady is the biggest no-brainer of all time. He's going to have to wait the allotted time period just like everyone else, though.
Frank Shamrock goes in finally, finally.
Jens Pulver is finally.
Yeah.
Finally.
I mean, John Jones is a Hall of Famer right now, and he's still fighting.
Yeah, that is a little weird. But the point is, I'm happy. You know what? It definitely seemed like the relationship was getting a little frosty there. It's nice to know that even if the relationship is frosty, and I can guarantee you some of those comments are because of that, it's nice to know that they're going to put that aside and induct them. And that's more like how the WWE does it. Like, even if their relationship isn't great with someone, they'll put them in. By the way, shout out, just found out before the show started, Andy Kaufman going in, got a big pop from Frank for that.
Yeah, I was going to say, Frank's
love that.
favorite. Guy never shows up around.
Yes. Love Andy Kaufman. That's the WWE Hall of Fame, by the way, not the UFC Hall of
If
Fame.
Anderson Silva had beat Jake Paul, oh, sorry, go ahead, Frank.
No, I was just
He
laughing.
disliked the joke.
Sorry. Eric.
No, go ahead.
I won't
please.
laugh
If
again.
Anderson Silva had beat Jake Paul and had been on this like boxing run and continued it, do you think he goes into the UFC Hall of Fame right now? Or do you think it waits until Anderson Silva's on?
I don't know. If he beat Jake Paul, he might have gone in that night. Also, what does this mean for the union that
maybe
they're
that
starting?
tracks. Maybe that tracks. Yeah.
Does this mean the union's not happening?
But Jake Paul and the like, we're gonna do this thing.
How long has that been?
Promises always tend to go somewhere real productive for sure.
I'm so upset. Do you agree with the Fiziev scorecards?
Oh, man. I definitely don't agree with the 10-8.
10-8 was whack.
10-8. Frank's actually a huge proponent of the 10-8. He said it from the second the round ended. He said that was a 10-8.
Facts.
Really? Frank? Frank is the voice of reason here?
Nothing more. You can't.
I thought the first 2 rounds went to Fiziev, and I thought the last round went to Gaethje. It was
too.
close.
That's what I thought it
It
was.
was
It was
close.
incredibly close. It was an awesome fight.
Wish we got 2 more rounds.
Yeah, I don't think Fiziev is too upset with it. I mean, if you're making the damage argument, Fiziev's face was pretty brutal, and he said to Gaethje afterward, he was like, every single punch you land is damage. But also, Fiziev worked the body a lot, and that's where he put his damage on. Super close. I don't really have a complaint about it, other than the 10-8 Gaethje.
Oh, man.
Which Gaethje still would have won the fight had it been a 10-9, so it doesn't make that big of a difference.
Right. I saw on social media Dustin Poirier posted something like Award 2, and it seemed like like we were talking about Poirier, right? What's next for him? Poirier has a win over Justin Gaethje, which happened, I think, 2017 off the top of my head, something like that. So it's been a while, but all of a sudden now maybe this is the guy. Now the thing is with Gaethje likes to take 5-6 months off between fights. Obviously, he didn't get too banged up as opposed to Fiziev, who had the cuts and everything. The gruesome photo, I posted it. Jeff Botari shot it for Zuffa and Getty. But have we figured out the Dustin Poirier query? Has he finally found his opponent? Is this the guy?
That is a fight that I want more than any fight
You're kidding.
that could be made right now.
Really? Even though we saw it?
First of all, yeah, we saw it. Didn't you?
It was amazing.
It was incredible.
Sure.
And I think they're both better, way better than they were back then. It would be maximum violence. Those two are elite lightweights. Outside of John Jones and Francis Ngannou, and that's off the table. Dustin Poirier versus Justin Gaethje is the #1 fight I want to see in UFC and MMA right now.
So even though this means Dustin's not going to fight for a minute, right? Because, Gaethje always says he likes to take some time off.
Sure. I'll wait. I think it's worth waiting. Also, like, to your point, what is Dustin going to do anyway?
Right.
Like, there's not an opening for Dustin to slide in. I think Dustin would take this fight, but I think, based on the Twitter activity, he might want to have some assurances about what comes after, right? Like maybe a title shot.
Right.
Whereas it feels like but maybe that lines up, right? Dariush and Oliveira settle their business. Winner of that potentially gets a title shot. Gaethje and Dustin fight, and then they get a title shot after that.
Well, it's getting a little clearer because we found out that the UFC is going back to Abu Dhabi in October. Islam has to be on that card, obviously. So, we were talking about why would you give Dariush, Charles, why don't you just make that fight? Well, now that's going to happen in May. October's 5 months later. So the timing works out. If Dariush wins, he's getting the title shot. If Charles wins, is he getting Islam? I don't know. I guess. Maybe.
Why not?
Yeah. I mean, he just fought him. But I guess the win over Dariush, it's fine.
If there's anything we learned this weekend, is that title shots have no significant meaning and they're handed out.
Is it sellable, though? It was so one-sided. Anyways,
the run Charles was on,
Yeah.
I think a dominant win. I think it depends. It depends on how he looks against Dariush, in my opinion. Whereas with Dariush, I think if he beats Charles, like we can't deny him any longer. Let's get this done.
It's a tough loss for Fiziev because you can make the case that like he needed that win more.
Yes.
You know what I mean? He needed that win more.
It would have been bad for Justin to lose that.
You think so?
This. Yeah, it wouldn't have been good. I think he would have taken a significant stock hit. But yes, the momentum was behind Fiziev. Yeah, for sure.
So he needed that win a little bit more, but I don't think he takes a massive step back. It was a great fight.
He's still a legit top contender.
He's such a good
and I think
striker.
most people,
Golly.
not most people, a lot of people could make the case that he won. So I don't think he slides very far at all.
He's such a good striker.
He's awesome.
He's so much fun to watch. He is so much fun to watch. And so I guess that's the one, right?
That's please, violence gods, give it to me. Please, beg you.
Man, I would love to see it. It just means that we're not going to see Dustin for a while, but
again, like who's the obvious fight for Dustin?
no, there isn't.
There is not one.
And I think he's probably a little bit more interested in fighting Gaethje than Fiziev just because of the name, right?
Oh, for sure. He's fought him before. He's beaten him. The name value, if it comes with the potential title shot on the back end of it, that feels like a perfect package for Dustin.
So Gaethje got the win. Gunnar Nelson got the big win over Brian Barberena. Very impressive first round finish. And shout out to Barberena, who took the fight on short notice. Jennifer Maia, wow, with the very impressive win over Casey O'Neill. And I was surprised that she was such a big favorite. I mean, Maia is a really good fighter who has fought, the top of the 125-pound division and looked really good in this fight. Casey coming off the 9-month layoff, the ACL. I think people were being a little harsh on her, and I still think that she's going to be a player at 125. But Maia's had, that was her 31st pro fight. That was Casey's 10th.
Mm-hmm.
She's been around. But a big win for Jennifer Maia in the best female weight class, of course. Marvin Vettori with the win over Roman Dolidze. Jack Shores, we just talked about, with the win over Makwan Amirkhani. Chris Duncan got the split decision win over Omar Morales. Yanal Ashmuz, who beat Sam Patterson in vicious fashion, a minute 15. We'll be talking to him. He improved to 7-0. Bit of a late stoppage there, but we'll be talking to him back into the show. Muhammad Mokaev is coming up in about 13 minutes. Gruesome knee injury he suffered in that fight. It would appear he was limping. Can't believe he didn't tap to the knee bar. I mean, it looked like the thing was bending the other way. Somehow came back and freaking finished Jafel Filio. I have no idea how. I really don't. I mean, I really have no idea how he did that. Unbelievable. I mean, the guy won and is limping afterwards. He submits him via rear naked choke. He's limping and he still climbs to the top of the cage. It's unbelievable. Lerone Murphy, split decision win over Gabriel Santos. Christian Leroy Duncan beat Dusko Todorovic in the first round. Gruesome knee injury suffered by Todorovic. Looked like his knee just like buckled, twisted, something weird happened. Jake Hadley with the win over Malcolm Gordon. Very impressive. He looked great in that fight. Shout out to our old pal, Joanne Wood, who got back on track. That was beautiful stuff there. With the win over Luana Carolina. Very happy for her. Got the split decision win. Hard fought victory. Jai Herbert and Ludovic Klein fought to a majority draw. And what about Veronica Hardy? Wow. Best performance of her UFC career, by far, MMA career. Comes back after 3 years off. Beats Juliana Miller. Was never really close. Miller, obviously, just her 5th pro fight and has a long way to go, but was very happy for Veronica, was very happy for Dan Hardy. And she said she had improved. She said she had learned a lot under the tutelage of her husband, Dan Hardy. It appeared as though she learned a lot because she looked fantastic in that fight. So I was very, very impressive. Anyone jump out to you guys there? Anyone that you really were impressed by in the prelims or the early portion of the main card?
I mean, that Marvin Vettori-Roman Dolidze fight was fantastic. I thought Dolidze had a chance at getting his hand raised. When they were announcing the scorecards and they said 130-27, I thought that meant Roman had won. But it was Marvin. I mean, had he pulled that off, that would have been, talk about shaking up the middleweight division. That would have been 4 straight wins as an underdog.
Wow.
That was impressive. Even though he lost, I was still impressed by him.
4 straight wins as an underdog against like the cream of the crop,
right?
Too. Like it would have been really something to pick up that. And I think there's people who I saw scorecards out there for him. So a really good effort by him. For me, same thing. Not the same person, but in a losing effort, Fiziev. That dude showed he's up there with the cream of the freaking crop at lightweight. And that was a statement, in my opinion. I think, again, some people scored it for him. Either way, it was close, but yeah, he's a top lightweight. and a style and a speed that I think is going to give a lot of people problems. So I left. I knew who Justin Gaethje was. I didn't need to learn about Justin Gaethje. I knew exactly who Justin Gaethje was, and he showed exactly who Justin Gaethje is. I learned a lot more about Fiziev and can he fight at that level, and he proved that he can. So I'm excited about kind of where he goes from here and bounces back. But Delitze and Fiziev, I think, showed something to me that
Jake
I was
Hadley.
impressed by.
Jake Hadley.
too was incredibly impressive. That body shot KO. I mean, he's going to be rising up the flyweight ranks soon too.
What about Gaethje getting all upset at Michael Bisping for his commentary? I mean, I was really locked in, but I didn't really feel like
I didn't notice it. So
he was
I wasn't
biased,
sure.
that DC was biased. I saw people saying DC was biased towards Usman.
Well, for one, everybody claims bias on everything.
Yes.
And for two, Justin Gaethje admits in that he's biased. So like he's like, look, I'm biased. I love Kamaru. I thought he won, but here's my opinion. So it's like let's just take
chill.
it what it is. Let's just chill out.
This reminds me of Joe Buck when he calls like a Cowboys-Niners game, and half the people say that he's biased towards the Cowboys, the other half say he's biased towards the Niners. Like
exactly.
no one's biased, guys. I mean, I don't know. It's a really tough job. I don't envy those guys. Having to work, that card started at 12:30 Eastern. It ended at around 8 o'clock. There's no broadcast crew on the planet that goes straight like that. It just doesn't happen.
And they're talking almost the entire time.
It's unbelievable. And you're supposed to crescendo at the end. Like there's sometimes you'll call a football game, it crescendos in the middle, and then the fourth quarter is a bust, or you know what I mean? Or even if it crescendos at the end, it's 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And there's halftime, there's this, there's that. These guys are going back to back to back, especially on these cards with 15 fights. And I hate when they load them up like this, only because, everything is rushed and you don't get the post-fight interviews and blah, 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 blah. But, man.
Yeah,
Dude, I wouldn't blame them if they had a prelim announcer crew
Yes.
and then switched over.
They do that
to
in
the main
boxing,
card.
by the way.
Yeah, I mean, I would.
The
I would
Showtime
not
boxing
blame them at
cards.
all. 8 hours is a long time to go.
It's
man.
unbelievable.
You're in a suit. You're in the stadium too. It's a marathon, dude. Shout out to them.
And you're going crazy at every fight. You're yelling. You're this and
And
that.
everything they say, I actually think John Anik tweeted about it. Everything they say gets dissected.
Right.
Someone's going to find something wrong with it. Yeah, 8 hours, long time to talk.
Tom Aspinall wasn't on the broadcast team per se, but he was working for BT Sport, and I heard he did amazing. Oh, there it is. Wow, that was really close. I mean, that was quick.
Trigger.
Wow.
It's quick on the trigger.
Sheesh, Frank. That might be the quickest one ever.
Imagine Frank when Tom gets a fight announced.
Unbelievable. Yeah. He was talking about the Tybura thing. He kept saying, I saw him at the Q&A. He said, I saw Tybura call me out. I was like, well, wait a second, Tom. You mentioned him, and then he sent a video. Like, he didn't exactly call you out. I think you said his name first. Not that
He said his name first, but he was talking about the Twitter message.
Was Tybura first?
No, Tybura was not first, but Tybura responded on Twitter to his call out, and he was referring back to that.
Oh, jeez.
Just that they're going back and
Who
forth.
cares? Just make that. Maybe in July or so, if they go back, July, August, something like that. That would certainly make a lot of sense. Just to add to to me it was, and I'm not just saying this because he's coming up soon, Mohamed Mokaev coming back from that, I thought he was done. I was like, all right. And now there are some people who say, and I have to admit, I did not catch this live, who's saying that he tapped multiple times. Even I think Filio himself is claiming.
Yes,
in fact,
yes.
he told our own Brazilian beast this is the quote. Guilherme Cruz, of course, he tapped at least 3 times. I felt him tapping on my back like he was hiding with malice. There was another situation. I went for the guillotine and then attacked his injured shoulder. He tapped and I loosened it up a little bit. I was looking at the referee the entire time. The knee bar, I felt him tapping with his foot, and the referee asked him tap. I loosened it, and he was able to twist his knee a little bit. Did you guys notice this as well?
The first one I did, the shoulder one that I noticed, there was a camera angle that clearly shows him tapping.
Really? I saw
He's
after the
using
fact
tapping
he's
in the
doing this.
literal sense.
Yeah, I'm saying like I don't know if he's actually giving in, but like what you would do to tap like that, like.
But there's
he does
nothing really
that.
happening in that moment, right?
Well, he
His
admitted that
argument
his
is the
shoulder,
yeah.
his shoulder was injured in the fight.
Sure.
right?
Well, it
Or
was injured prior,
coming into
yeah.
the fight. So it's possible that there was enough tension on the shoulder that he had to tap.
It's just a very weird thing to do if he's not like it. You know who can answer the question?
Yeah. What was your
Mohamed
hand doing
Mokaev.
at that time?
Yes.
Coming up in
is,
5
an
minutes.
important
But we have the screen grab, right?
Yeah. Let's.
We can't show the footage.
Yeah, it was at this moment right here. Obviously, yeah, the screen grab isn't going to do as much justice as the video, but like you can see his hand in motion. He taps with that left hand.
Well, what's interesting about this and what you need to note is because it wasn't like a particularly tight submission situation, right? The referee's not looking for a tap here.
Right.
His hand is on the opposite side, and the referee wouldn't be like closely watching for a tap because this isn't a position where it's going to feel like it's particularly dangerous. So what happens on that side of the body is blind.
Also, the best argument here for Muhammad Mokaev is if he didn't tap during the knee bar, then why would he tap during that? Like if he can hear the ligaments in his knee cracking and it's like getting bent back like a bow, why would he tap in this situation?
It was going the knee was. We have that picture too, right? The knee is going the opposite way.
It is truly insane. Like I'm sitting here and like acting like how it would feel. Like I can't even imagine.
What in the world?
I can't even imagine.
It doesn't make sense. It's so hard to watch. I mean, I would have started tapping like
as soon as he grabbed my foot like that, I'm tapping. Come on,
what
man.
in the fucking hell? Oh my God, that is unbelievable.